Okay, everyone. So let's go ahead and drop in together. So go ahead and close your eye. Taking a really nice deep breath down into your belly, way down in. And then when you exhale, feel like you're really letting all of anything that's needing to be released from your body, from the down deep, is coming out on that exhale. So really focusing on inhale, bringing in light way down deep. And exhale, allow any tension, any holding, any to-dos, any to-don'ts to be released from your body right now. So staying with that breath and allowing the breath to be whatever it needs to be for your body. Maybe it feels thick. Maybe it feels light. Maybe it feels a little bit of in between. Maybe you're breathing really deep and full and intense. Maybe it's soft and whisper-like. Listening to what your body needs right now with the intention of letting go. We're here right now to tap into our intuition. And the more we can let go of our day, the more we can let go of anything that's keeping us from this present moment. So letting the breath do that, releasing and letting go, and stay with it. Now bringing your energy, you can stay with that breath if you want, but bring your attention and energy up into your heart. You can place your hand there if that feels good. And calling in the light of Reiki energy to hold this place for us. So sense, visualize, and imagine a big ball of golden light. Imagine it going in, that it's in between us. And that we're creating a circle of Kim, me, Janie, Cam, Margot, Paul, Amy, Tom, and Marcia. We're in this beautiful circle. And this golden ball of light is now zooming down and coming upon our head, opening up our crown, our third eye, our throat, and our heart. And feeling that energy moving from the heart down through your arms, which are the extension of the heart chakra, and imagine the energy going around and around and around our circle. And now in the center of our circle, we can place any intentions that we have for this activating intuition masterclass with amazing Kim. Placing any intention that you have for yourself. What are you activating? What would love to become alive for you? And now to complete this, let's bring our hands into prayer position. And let's bow to the center of our circle, bow to each other, and bow to our intuition. Oh, beautiful. Okay, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to Kim for being here with us. So I just want to say a word before we start. We're in the world of information, and there's so much information that's coming to us, and we have access to all of that. Let's just invite this space for us to open ourselves to really receive a tool, something we can really not just have as information, but something that lands in us even on a cellular level, or some place where we can leave here feeling full, and we can leave with something that is going to really make a change or make a difference in our lives. So that's my intention for having Kim here today. So I sent you Kim's bio, but I'm going to read it right now for you. Kim Chestney is an internationally published author, creative culture leader, and intuition advocate. Her books have been published around the globe in multiple languages, raising awareness of innate intuition as the source of creativity, ingenuity, wellness, and our personal evolution. Kim founded Intuition Lab to teach all people to the power of radical insight. In 2018, Kim was elected to the National Advisory Council for Americans for the Arts for her groundbreaking contributions to the creative economy. Kim's bio is really long. I took a little slice of it. So that is, and she wrote this amazing book that we're going to be talking about, Radical Intuition. Some of you have it. It's a beautiful book and has so many amazing things. So I'm going to pin, well, maybe not quite yet. Thank you for being here, Kim.
Thank you for having me, Marla. It's always so wonderful talking with you, and you always have such wonderful groups of people, so it's nice to meet everybody and see everybody.
And Kim is also a Pittsburghian, so we know each other from that too. We have Danny and Paul, who's and yeah, so she has that vibe. Yeah. So Kim, I guess I'm going to just pass it over to you for one moment, but we were talking about before, like even opening it up to the group as far as like where they're wanting to activate their intuition, what aspects of their life. So I'm wondering if we could kind of start there to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. So I think that's a great way to start out, because intuition is such a subjective, unique, personal experience. And that's something I really like to focus on tonight, is really the personal nature of intuition as really the counterpoint to our intelligence, which is based on sort of commonly agreed upon norms. Our intuition, on the other hand, is something that is truly special and unique. And that's what sometimes makes it so hard to understand. And also is one of the reasons why I ended up writing the book Radical Intuition, is because I wanted to teach people how to understand their own unique intuition and how it applies to your own unique situations in your life. So, really, opening up space for intuition and starting this conversation about, how you're using intuition in your life and where you'd like to see more of it and how you'd like to open up and really open that flow of intuition in your life. You want to go round robin?
Yeah, let's do that.
Marla, do you want to call on people? I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Okay, Janny, where are you wanting intuition to be activated in your life? What aspect of your life?
Well, I feel like as a mother of 3, I've always had a pretty good intuition about my children. Mm-hmm. And, I think I've honed that because I have one child that has had from birth quite a bit of health issues. And so, I've really had to tap into my intuition a lot more with him. Is he okay? Does he need care? You know what I mean? Just what's your gut telling you? But I think I'm lacking when it comes to intuition for myself as an individual, but I feel like I have good intuition for my kids. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think as parents, that's something that when we have that connection to our intuition, it makes things, well, sometimes it makes things harder because we know things and we don't know how we know them. And that's especially with teenagers, that's where I've found myself lately with my kids is now, you have that intuition, and it really is your sort of secret weapon with parenting. And I can truly imagine with health issues, I mean, intuition is so important when it comes to the body. That's why I'm so glad to be here and working with Marla, is really understanding our health issues and understanding the dynamics, because our body speaks to us intuitively all the time. So so learning to speak to your intuition through your body and hear what it's saying, it's such a valuable process.
Yeah.
Shall I call on everyone, or can you all just?
You can popcorn.
I'll go next. We can go that way.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Marcia.
Okay.
I was just going to say that I feel like I've always had a pretty strong intuition. Feeling people's energy has always been huge to me, and I'm just kind of learning more about that. But as far as like dating and letting people into my life, somehow that just goes right out the window. I can read people so well until it comes to that, and then I don't know, go completely the opposite way. And then also just to trust my intuition when I hear it. I mean, I've had like direct things come down, and I'm like, did that just happen? So just to play around with it more and just to get more comfortable with it to where I truly just don't question it at all.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, because you've really just touched on like the ultimate, conundrum with the intuitive mind, is that it's so much easier to use your intuition on other people than it is to use on yourself. Because when we're so deeply immersed in our own life, we have two things: we have emotions and we have thoughts that we are very deeply attached to, and things that affect us in powerful ways, and they can create like a static that can prevent us from hearing that true voice of intuition, which really is our higher emotion and our higher thought, right? It's not this small sort of ego static that we get when we want things or we need things or we fear things and all this other stuff. Intuition sort of rides up there in that peaceful zone. And once we learn how to differentiate between those two things and know how the difference between what an emotion feels like or what a personal thought feels like versus an intuitive feeling and an intuitive impression, then it becomes easier to make that differentiation. So I think that is something that is so important, especially as you're really starting to work with your intuition in powerful ways. Like sort of next level intuition is making that differentiation between the stuff that you read for others and the stuff that you read for yourselves, and knowing that you can see past all of that static. And then ultimately, like you said, trust it and follow it, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you, Marcy.
Yeah, you guys kind of took the words right out of my mouth. It's exactly what Marcy was saying. And for me personally, it's kind of just developing that further and learning to go, what's the egoic mind chatter versus the direct intuition. And sometimes so much so that it's been really scary, where I've had like a vision of a dog chasing me on a hike, and I round the corner and there's a dog chasing me on the hike. So it's just, it's those kinds of things, and learning how to, I guess, like you say, differentiate between what an egoic thought is and a direct flow state intuitive thought is, and to kind of work with that a little bit more.
Exactly, because there's more than one voice in your head. People are always like, I want to listen to that voice in my head. Well, if you really think about it, there's a lot of voices in your head, right? There's your critic, your inner critic, your imagination. There's all kinds of things happening there. So, but what you find, as I'm sure you're starting to understand through your experiences, is intuition feels different. And when you start to recognize that different feeling and get it over and over again, because the work I do, it's all about validation. Validation is so important, but I'm not one of those like, whoa, intuition, it's this and that. Like, I like to know it's real. Like, it's really important for me to know that this is something real and I didn't just make this up. And I think that's what's so valuable about the work we're going to do tonight, and the kind of work that Marla and I've been doing with this whole stuff is you can learn to understand the difference between your imagination. Oh, is that dog just like some thought I had that was like fearful, or just some like chatter that came in, or is that a genuine impression that's calling me to wake up and pay attention? And it's so important to feel that difference, because it makes all the difference in the way that you react. Whether it's something, as big as your life and what's happening in the big picture, or something as simple as like, should I eat this, or should I talk to this person or that person? Just very simple little things in your life. It can function in so many different ways. So yeah, that's awesome. That's a great example.
Yeah.
I don't mind going next. I definitely resonate with what's been said so far. I'm also a mother of a 3-year-old, he'll be 3 next month, and I'm going through a divorce. So a lot of fear, a lot of worry, and I'm like losing my intuition when it comes to like navigating divorce. But then also I notice it when I'm also a career woman, so at work. So when I'm producing results, or when there's fears or something there,
yes,
career wise or divorce, it's like intuition just kind of goes away, or at least I don't recognize it as much as I do when I'm like in full mom mode and, you know, my goddess self. Yeah, I took a goddess bath last night and I definitely felt my intuition, but I lose it in those other moments, like when I'm in results mode.
Right. Because the mind is the biggest barrier, right? If your mind is doing all this stuff, then those intuitive thoughts. I mean, intuition's so easy. That's the thing. You don't have to like go out and have like advanced degrees or understand it. All you have to do is be still and listen. And it drops in. You just have to receive it. It's as simple as that. It pops into your head. It comes to you in that moment, and that sudden insight or epiphany or revelation. So really the best way to start using your intuition is just like what you said, is just slow down, take the goddess bath, take the walk, take that time for yourself. And those are the places when those magic moments can just click in and those little amazing, extraordinary insights come to you. It's awesome.
I think I'll chime in because I feel kind of what Jeanette was saying in terms of not trusting your intuition in the career space, because I feel that's where I feel still very green, even though I've been at my position, I've been with my company for like a while, for years, right? But it's still like as if I don't trust it all the time. And I'm like, no, I'm inexperienced. So like I'm not following through, even though I know if I listened, I would have been okay or correct, quote unquote. So I think that's really where I would like to focus my intuition in terms of that. And also I heard a couple people saying, you know, interesting, even reflecting it and turning it inward into like your health and things like that. Definitely, I feel like that needs to be polished, I guess, for myself.
Yeah, I think we could all probably relate to that a little bit. And, you know, and I love that I'm hearing so many people talk about intuition in business, because that's been a sweet spot of mine. You know, I come from the corporate world and the tech world. That's my background. So, you know, I was really set on this path when I, you know, started going to like meetings with like super smart, like techies, and hearing them talk about intuition and how important intuition was. And really this idea of intuition being the holy grail in the future in business and innovation and all of these things, intuition is vital to. And I remember when I first started using my intuition, and I hear the words that you're saying, Amy, and it was the same things would go through my head. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, so like green. And here I was just following my intuition. And I was just like doing all this crazy stuff. And people were like, whoa. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was just going where my intuition told me to go. And I like, you know, there's people with like 10 PhDs are like looking at me like, oh my gosh. But it's that intuitive connection. That's where the magic is. So using it in business is so valuable and in such a practical way. You know, some people get really like, I got some flack from people with my book because I talk about business a lot and they're like, oh, that's just like corporate-y and like sell-outy, but it's really not. It's part of our human experience in this process. If we want to build a business because we want to serve and we want to lead and really, you know, meaningful ways that bring change and good energy into the world. So it's really actually very valuable, and applying it to your life and your job and your work is, you know, one of the best ways that you can empower yourself.
Kim, I find that it's often I can tap into it. I often won't take the time to. That it's actually just a time thing. Like I will go to my computer and I'll just jump on it rather than having the pause and being like, okay, where am I called to be? What, you know, who am I connecting with right now? And so sometimes it's a nervous system just like jumping in, right? So it's the pause. I don't know if anyone else has that experience.
Yeah, that pause is sacred. It really is. And if we can train ourselves to do that, whether we're just sitting down at the computer to do something, or whether we're entering into a conversation with someone, or just taking that moment of silence and going within us and finding our center, right? That aligns us with that true core where intuition can flow instead of our crazy over rational overthinking minds or our crazy over feeling emotions, right? We're in our center. And you know, when you're in your center, you're in that flow. whether you're just on fire and you're writing things and there's all this stuff coming through, or you're just talking and words are coming to you, you're not even thinking, like when you're public speaking and you're just on fire, like that's that intuitive connection, and that's being open in that flow. And it all does tie back to, the concept of this meeting, which is being balanced in our bodies, being open, being healed, being in a place of where we don't have these blocks, these energetic blocks and these physical blocks, so that that whole stuff can just flow so much easier.
Beautiful. Who else is up?
Margot.
Yeah. Hi. I feel like I have a very strong intuition, but I think that, like, me being kind of young and a woman, I've somehow gotten it in my head to not believe myself. So, like, it actually just happened like a few days ago. I saw this person, and normal looking person. I was like, this guy is going to steal my wallet. And then later that night, my wallet was gone, and I was like, it was that guy. And so it's just like,
Wow.
I feel
Wow.
like I have very strong intuition, and I like hear it very clearly. And it's gotten me like really awesome jobs and stuff, even like so young. But then now sometimes I just don't think, like, I just feel like I've been taught to not trust myself sometimes, or like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, one of the biggest myths that people have to get over is that it's just women's intuition. It's not something that women have. That, in fact, the biggest advocates of intuition throughout history have been men. Think about like Einstein and Steve Jobs. People like, if those are like the people that are saying, yes, there's something here. This is magical. This is real. And as women, we are sort of taught to think that, oh, your intuition's it's just intuition, right? It's just like this lesser thing. But really, intuition is so much more powerful than our thinking mind. It has access to information that the thinking mind can never receive, right? It taps into something higher, something more powerful, and something very real. It's not actually such a nebulous woo-woo thing that society has made us really think of. It's really, when you look at it in terms of quantum realities, we're understanding now that really intuition is just a type of quantum thinking. We haven't understood it. We couldn't have this conversation 100 years ago because we didn't understand quantum physics or quantum dynamics. But now we realize that you can get to the answer without going through the A plus B plus C. You can go straight from A to Z. That's how quantum physics works, and that's how intuition works. So intuition is very much aligned with the things that are coming out in physics and in different theories of multidimensional existence and string theory and entanglement and spooky accident existence. All these things that you hear us talking about in physics, they apply so deeply to intuition, which is very masculine. I mean, the physics part of it is very masculine. So now we're seeing these worlds come together and realizing that it's beyond gender, it's beyond all of that stuff. It's just a yin and a yang.
Great. Thank you, Kim. Tom?
Just curious about it.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Coming from a man.
With
Oh.
like it.
no understanding of physics.
Paul?
I think the few times I've heard intuition, I've waited so long it's had to be a sledgehammer. So be interested in learning how to, I guess, hear it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because intuition, it does operate on that whisper, shout, roar principle, right? In the beginning, it's kind of like, hey, little tap on the shoulder, like, oh, that guy's gonna steal your wallet, you know what I mean? And then before you know it, if you don't listen, then other things happen, and then eventually you have to get the hammer. But that's actually for our own good, because our intuition always wants what's best for us. I mean, really, ultimately, your intuition is your best friend. It's just the trick is learning to listen to our best friend, not just have our best friend tell us things and we do our own thing and have to learn the hard way, because one way or the other, we're going to learn the lesson. Just with intuition, you can learn it the easy way.
Mm-hmm. what I'm hearing, Kim, is kind of an overall theme here is the idea of trusting our intuition, trusting it with ourselves, trusting it within our work, trusting it out in life. So I'm wondering if you could, maybe we could talk about that a little bit more. Like, how do we trust our intuition? What are some things that we can actually do that would support that?
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, trust is the foundation of really everything. When I think when you're coming to your personal growth, is building that trust in life, trust in yourself, that true self, trust in that connection to the higher power that guides us, and whatever you believe that is. It's trust that you are part of this meaningful process of expansion in the universe, and intuition is part of that. And for me, intuition is really at the core of all of our spirituality, all of our well-being, all of our creativity, all of our personal growth. Once we get our intuition right, all of that stuff starts to fall into place, because as Yogananda said, intuition is the soul's power of knowing God. Ultimately, intuition is our connection to that sort of higher realm of everythingness. All the data in the world is out there. Nothing's ever been created or destroyed. It's there, and our intuition has access to it. And from that higher vantage point, our higher self can guide us. So learning to trust in that higher self is really foundational, because if you don't trust it, you're not going to have the courage to follow it, because the reality is your intuition is going to tell you to do things that isn't always the easiest thing to do. It's going to call you to get outside your comfort zone. It's going to call you to get out of that rut, to make that change, to go outside of the boundaries a little bit. And sometimes that's work. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, until we get to that place where we are in that deep place of connection. So we're not going to have the courage. We're not going to have the wherewithal to follow our intuition if we're not trusting it. That's why if you've read the book, that one of the foundations of the whole book is the word I mentioned earlier, which is validation, which is finding validation to prove that your intuition is really at work within you. And this is genuine intuition. It's not just, something that you're cooking up or some sort of self-delusion, because we can trick ourselves sometimes. And that's, they always say, oh, follow your heart. But I mean, intuition is different from your heart, because your heart will lead you astray. If you follow your heart, you're following something inside you that's unconscious a lot of times. But intuition is fully conscious. It's higher conscious. It's super conscious, and it takes you to a higher elevation and a higher awareness and a higher place of peace and power. So getting into trust with that, using some of the tools, and we can talk about some of those different things and some of the exercises that I have in the book too, to understand, like, okay, so something really real is happening inside me, and I want to learn how to do it. That's the thing about intuition. People think it just comes out of nowhere and it's just like willy-nilly. Well, guess what? It's not. It's systematic, it's learnable, and it's repeatable, just like everything else that we do. So that's what this whole thing that we do with radical intuition teaches you, to learn to understand your intuition and to make it a part of your life in every moment, so that you can trust it 24/7 and just live in that state of alignment with everything that you're doing.
So what comes up when you say that, because I've heard it with my clients. And Marcia, is it okay if I reference your share? Yeah, you can just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yes.
Okay. If my intuition tells me to eat that thing, I'm going to do if I hear the voice that tells me to eat that thing, my intuition, I'm going to do the exact opposite. If my sense of self says go towards that man, I should go absolutely the opposite way, right? It's like that experience of like, I should do exactly what I think is right for me, right? So it's like, what do you say to people when they're coming with that, where they're trying to, they're wanting to, but there's something so off? Is it too many emotions? Is it too much, tough belief system, be able to hear the right thing? Like, what do you suggest in that situation?
Just to make sure I understand the question, are we talking about like how I am with directions because I have despite my strong intuition. I have the worst sense of directions. So every time my intuition tells me to go one way, I always go the other. Is that that
Okay,
kind of thing?
yeah, that's
'Cause I know-
exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's always like the running joke in my family about my bad sense of direction. So I understand, but the reality is, when things like this happen, it's not really our intuition, right? For me, I can't get out. For some reason, I can't get out of my head when it comes to driving, right? I'm always thinking it's my intuition, but it's really not. And I think when we have those, sometimes, like for instance, if you're like, oh man, I should. The difference between like, oh, I should go and eat this like grody, like fruit pie that has 12,000 calories in it. Like, no, your intuition isn't telling you to eat that, right? You might want that, right? But your intuition is not really saying that. Your intuition will move you in a way that feels differently, right? So to the short answer to that question is practice, right? So start practice putting these things. Your intuitions, maybe you do need some sugar. Like if you're like, really down and you need a little energy, and maybe sometime your intuition will say, oh, eat that thing that's typically not healthy because you really need that carbohydrate boost because you really, need some energy. So it can change. Not that there's anything implicitly good or implicitly bad, but you can just practice listening intuitively and say, what would feel good? What would make my body feel good right now? Eat that and see how you feel, right? See, like, yeah, oh my gosh, I'm feeling a couple of days. I've been eating this. I've been try intuitive eating, like literally changed my life. I didn't get it. When I started doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can literally pick my foods by the way I think I'm going to feel. And then I eat them and I have a higher vibrational shift, because that's really what your intuition wants. It wants to uplift you. It wants you to clear your energy and keep you light and release the heaviness, release all that stuff that stands in the way of that connection. So if you listen, and the same thing goes with like dating and stuff, right? So we just have to get out of our own way a little bit. It's just about stepping back, getting out of our own way, just listen to your intuition and just try and follow it. Just try to trust it. Just say, I'm just gonna give it this shot and see how it goes. And then, maybe sometimes it doesn't work out and you can say, okay, well, maybe this felt a little off. Maybe it really wasn't my intuition. And then those times that it starts to connect and feel right, start paying attention to how that feels and write it down. Keep a journal. Journals are the best when you're starting to like build trust in your intuition and create validations. Because then you can look back on the best thing is like, like a story like, oh, hey, this guy was gonna steal my wallet and then my wallet got stolen. When you look back on that and like 10 other things like that, 3 months from now, oh my gosh, there's a pattern. Look at all the things my intuition told me. These little things, they come here and there, we forget them. But when you write them all down and you look at them, when you go back and look at all of them together, you realize, wow, this is actually happening more often than I realized, and is really something that's there for me and it's been helping me every day.
Mm-hmm. I find, and I'm wondering about everyone else, but the experience of fear and intuition, and it's something that I've been playing with, is where am I just afraid right now? Is this fear that's making me go like this, or is it my intuition? So I've been playing with learning to soften and go, what is this? Is this real or not? And often I'm like, oh, this is often fear, right? Or no, this is real. I need to listen to this. So in that same sense, I'm hearing Paul's asking, how do you discern intuition versus whatever else you hear?
Yeah, I love that word discern. And I use that word discernment a lot in the book and in my work, because I think discernment is really this nice sweet spot between the mind and the intuition, where you're using your mind and your intuition together. You're not judging, you're not overthinking, you're in this place where you're intuitively discerning something. So I think to talk about that and to talk about fear wrapped up in that, fear really is the antithesis of intuition. It's so funny that it's the antithesis, but we so often confuse them, right? Because they can feel very similar at times, right? Because they both have such a strong motivating power, but truly, intuition, and when you're really following your intuition, it really is a state of pure trust. So it gets down to that same old, dichotomy of trust versus fear. And when you're in the intuitive state, you're in that state of trust, whether it's trust in yourself, trust in God, trust in the universe, whatever, however you view that connection. as opposed to the fear state when we don't have that trust and we feel disconnected. And I mean, that's really the core. We feel lost, disconnected, powerless. So, wrapping that all together with learning to differentiate those things and discern them, it comes back to finding that place of peace and power within us. So, the qualities of genuine intuition, I have a list of them in the book, and it comes from a place of emotionless, right? It's a calm, quiet place. It's that still small voice. Doesn't mean it can't be empowering. Even if you're rushing to like lift a car off of someone because you just know you have to go rescue someone, you're doing that with a calm sense of power with intuition, right? Even if it's something big, it's not that you're not afraid. It's just that you're tuned into this intuition and it gives you the strength to overcome that and to be moved by that. Because intuition, I talk about 4 different types of intuition in the book. And, one of them is, this intuition of the heart. It moves us and it empowers us in ways that it just flows through us with this sort of energy. And, that's the counterpoint to this fear. And when we do crazy things in our life, like, when you're in that terrible relationship for 20 years and finally you're done, you've had enough, you are just empowered and you're like, this is my moment, I'm going to take it. And I trust that whatever I do, it's going to be better on the other side, even though I have no idea what my life is going to look like. And there's so many things to be afraid of. There's something inside you that knows that it's the path and you trust it and you walk it. Right. And that applies to so many different things in life. So it's about, getting into that place of connection and knowing the difference between a fear, because a fear makes you feel small. And that's a really, really simple way to differentiate the two. If you have thoughts or feelings that are making you feel small and powerless, that is not your intuition. Your intuition will never make you feel small and powerless. Not that it's going to cater to all your wants and needs and tell you everything you want to hear, but it will always empower you, because at the end of the day, your intuition wants you to grow and expand and be more and open up to all of the beauty and wonder in the universe, right? So it's really just an expansive experience. Intuition shows you the potential, it shows you the path, it shows you the power. So that's one of the most important qualities. If you're wondering if you're like, oh, is that my emotions or is that my intuition? Well, how do you feel? Right. So, on the other hand, then you can't just go crazy and be like, oh, I'm like, just going to do everything and, just totally disregard common sense, right? So intuition will keep you in that place of power, but it also keeps you centered and grounded in that place of peace. So that's really the sweet spot we want to be, is feeling expansive, feeling motivated, feeling moved by our intuition, but not carried away by like desires and all of those emotions that can confuse things.
Kim, how do you explain, I'm sure you've had this question, how do you explain the difference between intuition and psychicness? Do they go like this? Is it different?
Well, I think really the idea, the psychicness is like such a big world. There's like so much about it. And actually my first book is called The Psychic Workshop. So, my pathway into intuition has come from so many different angles. And so I was very interested in psychic phenomena in my youth and understanding it, because I had things happen to me that I couldn't explain. And I really want, again, getting back to like physics and reality and stuff, I wanted to understand, how this worked and how it was possible. So I was very passionate about learning about things like that in a really grounded way. And I think that psychic ability is a dimension of intuition. I'd say it's sort of a part of the big umbrella of intuition. But intuition is so much more than just psychic ability, right? Like the psychics are definitely very intuitive. But at the same time, intuition is also about these other things, like creativity, like empathy, like innovation, like ingenuity. And there's so many subtle different things, the arts and creativity that intuition ties into, even parenting and our health and our well-being and our bodies. So the way I see it is intuition is sort of the broad brush, and the psychic stuff's just an application of it.
Got it. Okay. I love that. Thank you. So we have another comment from Paul. And if anyone else has any questions as we go along, Paul says, so trust and calm is an open door for intuition. parasympathetic nervous system active, then fight or flight state is not. Is that binary?
That's an interesting question. So there is a difference between, I talk in the book a lot about the difference between instinct and intuition, and they are different. In that the fact that instinct is something that we do unconsciously. So fight or flight could very well be intuitive in certain cases. I think there's certain times it really depends on the situation. Your intuition could definitely be saying, get out of here, right? This is a bad situation. Absolutely, that can be an intuitive situation. But, other times, if you just instinctively like pull your hand away from something, right? It could be something you're unconsciously doing just because, there's parts of your body that have levels of perception that you're just not consciously aware of. So the difference with intuition is that you are consciously aware of it, right? You're coming from that place of higher awareness, not unconsciousness. So when you're like in that room or walking down the street late at night and there's some creepy dudes like walking up to you and you're like something in your head saying you need to get away from this guy, right? That's your intuition. You're fully conscious that something's telling you like, I need to get out of here, right? You're aware of those thoughts happening and you make the choice to do it, right? With instincts, it's something that you just do without thinking and that you do without even really processing anything. It's sort of more of a knee-jerk reaction or something that we're even maybe sometimes even conditioned to from our past experiences, or that we act out of, things that aren't necessarily our intuition at all.
Great, thank you. So Kim, would you like to maybe lead us through something or share something with us, an experience?
Yeah, so I thought maybe we could do a little exercise where we could all just practice using our intuition and start getting some validation. So I created something you guys are all probably familiar with, oracles, tarot cards, things like that. I actually created something called a deck of insight cards, which are intuitive development cards. It's cards that you can use in your own life, using your own intuition to find answers and to develop your own language with your intuition. Because all of us, our intuition, that's the thing, intuition is so personal. It comes to us in our own natural sensibilities. So no two people experience intuition the same way, which is why it's hard for people to understand it a lot. It's hard to teach it because it's not like there's a simple guidebook that applies to everybody. There's some core foundational issues with intuition that is common ground for everybody. But then we all kind of have our own unique sort of stew of intuition. Some people get a lot of intuitive feelings, other people have knowings, some people feel it in their bodies, they get sensations, they have gut feelings, right? Some people have mystical experiences and visions and some, so there's so many different ways that intuition can manifest. And I think each and every one of you would probably tell us a different story about a totally different way intuition has revealed itself to you. So part of developing your intuition is understanding your unique intuitive language and the way that your intuition speaks to you personally. So one of the fun things I like to do is use these insight cards and pull a card and give you the opportunity to use your intuition to let that card speak to you. And what's so fun is this just goes to show how unique our intuition is for each of us. I'm going to pick one card, and then we're all going to use that card to find an answer to our own unique question. So what I would ask each and every one of you to do if you want to participate is to think of something you need guidance right now in your life, something you're struggling with or wrestling with, something you just need to have some insight into. Should I take this job? Is this, the right person for me? Or is my healthcare routine the right thing for me? Whatever it is that you're doing in your life right now that you really could just use a little understanding, a little wisdom from the universe. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to pull a card, and each of us can look at this card and see how that card speaks to us. And what's so unique is that pretty much no one will say the same thing, and even though it's the same card. Because each card will speak to us in a unique way. So when you're looking at this card, though, I want to give you a quick tutorial on how to use the cards, because this card is really just a metaphor for life. It's a metaphor for how you can react to and understand the world around you. So when you're looking at a card, the thing you're going to want to look at first, you're going to want to go to your first impression, the first thing you see on the card, because intuition is all about first impressions, right? Because it's that moment where you have that insight before your mind takes over. The time that you looked at that person who was really creepy and your first impression was like, nope, even though everybody else, oh, he's so great or she's so great, and they wear all the right clothes and have all the right jobs and know all the right people, but something about you knows from that first impression there's something wrong. And with time, you usually figure it out. But in the beginning, you just think you're crazy because it doesn't make sense. Because intuition a lot of times doesn't make sense because we don't have all the facts to back it up. So we have to learn to trust that gut feeling, that inner knowing, all the little things that come to us intuitively. So when we are using this card, the trick is to go to our first impression, and that sort of becomes our point of departure, where we just go to that and look at that as a symbol or a metaphor for how this situation is an answer to our call for guidance. And then we move into resonance, and resonance is the other real important principle with intuition. First impressions really it deals with our minds and our thoughts and our understanding and those epiphanies and awareness. But then comes resonance, and that's our heart. And then we let the card draw us in and unwind a story for us metaphorically with our imagination, with our feelings, to speak to us. And that resonance, that intuitive feeling, is something you can use every day of your life when you're making decisions. Like, oh, does this feel right? Does this feel wrong? If you start to rely on that idea that you know the truth by the way it feels, right? That's such a powerful statement. When you rely on that with every decision you make and every choice you make throughout the day, you become aligned with your intuition. So these two principles of first impressions and resonance are valuable, valuable tools in your own life that you can take away from tonight, and you can start becoming aware of them. Oh, that first thought that drops in, the first thought that comes in before my mind takes over, that's a sacred thought. That's your intuition, because your mind is going to want to be in charge, but your intuition has to slip in really quick before your mind comes in and starts taking over and like trying to tell you everything with all of its mind-based information, which is like lesser data. The best data is the data from your intuition, from the superconscious, from the higher realm. This other stuff down here is like questionable data, and your mind is full of questionable data, but your intuition can see the big picture, the 360. So we want to go with that quick first impression, those true little nuggets that come in, and then allow our intuition, our resonance, to pull us in and guide us into a deeper understanding. So are you ready to give it a shot? Yeah. Okay. Ready my screen share now? Don't worry, I won't make anybody share. Like if they want to share, you can. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
You see, I see the card. Okay, and first, before we get started, I just want to say, if you want to go and do these yourself, they're on my website. This is my website, kimchestney.com. And if you go up here to online card deck, you can play this anytime. You can practice, you just bookmark it. And if you ever have anything you have a question with or whatever, you can practice with this cute, very simple little tool here. I also have like printed cards too, if you prefer a printed card. But so I'll just do an imaginary one, just a practice one, so you guys have an idea of what I'm talking about first. So the first thing, let's just say my question is, let me see if I can think of something like, let's just say, like, is this, is the person that I'm seeing right now the best person for me, right? Just say I'm totally making this up because I'm married and not seeing people. So, but just so you understand how the process works, right? So you turn it over, okay, and say the first thing that I saw on that card I went to was the boat. I just went to this boat and I saw, oh, and instantly what dropped into my head was take off. Like the boat is driving away, it's leaving, it's heading out, right? So, then I start to move into the resonance with, oh, this boat, tell me a story. What's happening with this boat? It's leaving. This woman she's empowered. She's on her own. She doesn't need whoever's in that boat. Just let that boat fly away. And so she's got the whole world behind her. The sun's coming up. She's got a new life and she's ready to go. So follow that path up there, let that boat go and head into the world and shine your light, right? So that's just a simple way that you can sort of allow your imagination, to work through the cards through resonance and first impressions. And you might think at first that you're making it up, and you might think, oh, I'm just, this is just me wishful thinking or whatever. But if you want to come and play with us next time, we'll do this on each other. And you do that with someone you don't know, and you give them what happens, and your mind will be blown at how strangely and peculiarly correct what you say to them is. So please don't disregard what your imagination, quote unquote, brings to you, because we have to get past this idea that our imagination is just something that's not real, because our intuition speaks to us through our imagination in so many ways. Artists do it all the time. You see music and paintings, and all of that's created through this union of imagination and intuition. So learning to work with the cards in this way can then help you to understand how your intuition is speaking to you, and how it works and how it feels. And once you understand how it feels here on these cards, this is just a tool. It's like going to the gym. Then you can take it out into your life, and you know how it feels out there too. So this is just a good way to practice and get started and get some insights and start building that trust and validation so you can use it in everything you do. All right. Sound good? You guys ready? We're going to do one. All right. So yeah, if you go here, it'll give you a little tutorial so you can reread how to do it if you want. So right now, I just ask everybody to just take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath and calm, and let's open up that quiet space we talked about. Let's just take a pause and smile. That smile lifts you up. That's such a beautiful thing. It just makes you just feel it. It's a small smile can raise your vibration, which is what we want for intuition, because intuition makes us feel good. It makes us feel happy. When we're in a happy place or in a free, calm place, our intuition flows so much more freely. We're unblocked and open. So just take a breath and smile and connect to that joyful, loving place of truth and wisdom within you. It's that all-knowing self within you that wants the best and most beautiful things for your life, that wants to empower you and see you become all that you are, and open you up to the truth and beauty of the universe. Now take a moment and set your intention on the guidance that you'd like from life right now. Now, if you need another moment, you can take another moment, but I'm going to turn the card over. And whenever you're ready, just look at the card and allow your attention, because intuition is all about intention. It draws your attention to this angel numbers all the time, those little God winks. It'll draw your attention to the first thing that you need to see on this card to answer your question. And then unravel a message for you through metaphor and imagination. So here we go. And if you want to jot things down, feel free to write them down. Just move into the card and let it speak to you and tell you a story. Answer your question. And then anyone would like to share their story? It'll be interesting to see how different people respond to the same card.
I can share.
Yay!
Can we maybe come
Um,
back, or wait, let me just remove.
Yeah, if you want to take a picture of the card, you can take a picture of the screen. I'll leave it up for a second. if you want to remember it or screenshot it or anything. All right. Okay. All right. Who volunteered? I couldn't see.
I did.
Okay, great.
Well, okay, now that the car's not in front of me, I still remember. Okay.
I
So
want to have the card up, Marla.
it's okay. But so today I tried to just do something kind of simple for this first one, so I don't get too much in my head about anything. But mine was, I was wondering if like I'm going into my senior year and I'm going to be writing thesis. And I was wondering, I wrote a whole thing today about my proposal, and I was wondering if that's a good, like, that's what I want to be writing for the next several months, you know?
Mhm.
And I saw the first thing I saw was the cloud. And I was like, okay, so I was thinking that like kind of reminded me of like a thought bubble, but it's like kind of connected to a mountain. So I was thinking I have like a really good base, but I think that I think this is true, that I do want to expand more on something. Like I don't want to keep it right where it is. And so I was just thinking like the mountain is my base, and I have it, it's good, it's strong. But then I'm like kind of thinking there's more, and it's like there's the cloud was kind of going into the sky and then stars. And I was thinking, okay, that's kind of where I want to be, and that's where I can get to if I just think about it a little more.
Yeah, I love that. Marla, I'm going to need to pull the card back up. Is that okay? Because
Yeah.
I need to see it when people are talking to. Yeah, I feel like that will be better because I might be able to give some additional insight and stuff. So I'm going to just pop that screen share back up. If that's okay. All right. Are we there? Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I think if you're on your desktop, you can like I can see everybody and the thing at the same time. Can you guys do that? Like if you hit the right button, you can actually, we can see everybody and the card together. Okay. So what was the first thing you saw on here, Mario? The clouds right here?
Yeah, the bottom cloud, but yeah, the clouds.
Okay, so you're here. So tell me, and then can you tell me again so I can watch how you kind of went through it with your attention?
Yeah, so I thought like, oh, this cloud is kind of like reminds me of a thought bubble, and then I was thinking that looks like a mountain to me, and so I was thinking that mountain on it, like it also has like that eye, so like kind of like what I don't know, like it kind of, that was sort of my idea of what I've been already thinking, and like what I've already thought was a really good plan. And I guess those clouds remind me of thought bubbles, and like to expand on my base of that. But I didn't quite get to like the tree and the houses or anything.
Yeah, no, this is great. And I love doing this because I see these cards in all new ways. Like you guys show me things in these cards that I designed them all. So I made them, but the things that you see, like I never would imagine. And they do look like thought bubbles, and it does look like almost like a human face and a mountain all at once, which actually I love I'm hearing from you, because really, because you're talking about your thoughts and your ideas, and is this the right direction? And seeing it come up like that, and then following this through intuitively as an expansion, that there's bigger ones of it, right? And it's moving upwards and as a positive validation of your path. Is that what you're feeling?
Oh yeah, like I just feel like it, and it's exactly what I was thinking deep down inside, I feel, but yeah, it's interesting that came up.
Yeah, and because really what the point of intuition work in cases like this in our practice is really to validate what we already know deep inside, because our intuition is already telling us these things. It's not like this is anything new. Our intuition is probably prompting us and guiding us and nudging us to do all these different things. But when we pull a card like this, then we get an external validation. This is how we start to build, like, okay, so this happens. this is actually something that's validating what I already thought and believed and can help me to do that and to move it forward and believe in myself. And especially when you start doing this stuff with partners and you'll have someone say that to you, like, how would you feel right now if someone would have said that exact same thing to you without them even knowing you, right? Then you get an even bigger validation because something's coming from that magical place to you when there's no other way. It would be impossible for anyone to know how to say these things. So that's how this progresses and gets into something that's really, really interesting and powerful. So yeah, so take some more time with it. You know, if you take a picture of the card, take some more time with it, go deeper, and you can, there's so much information you can continue to even pull out of there, even after we're here right now. That was great. Thank you. Thank you, Margot.
Thank you so much, Margot, and thank you so much, Kim. I know we're at the top of the hour, so I want to honor everyone's time. If anyone wants to, well, Kim, can you tell everyone how to be in touch with you? And I know you have a really, you have a lot of wonderful resources on your website. Can you share a little bit more about those? Maybe we can get our
I am really getting ready to gear up for my next year. I founded my intuition school, Intuition Lab, and I'm launching a 1-year program called the Sacred Guide, which is a 1-year intuition attunement where we go through all of levels of my programmings. I have 4 different levels of programmings and certification and leadership training and all kind of wonderful things. Some of them are very spiritual, some of them very practical. So there's a little bit of something for everyone. And we're having a really fun class this fall called Higher Powers, where we're all going to get together for 4 weeks and practice this kind of stuff. Only we're going to do stuff like remote viewing and mental telegraphy and all that stuff that people think is really hard, but it's actually really easy.
Awesome.
So yeah, everybody.
That sounds great. Good.
Oh, and also,
can you get us off the share
quick,
screen so that we can see you and see everything?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Now we go. If you go to my homepage, I have an intuition awakening guide that's free that you can get there, and it's 12 pages, really going over the first steps into opening your intuition, awakening your intuition, and empowering it in a whole new way. So even if you're already intuitive and you know you have a connection, it really talks about developing that conscious relationship with your intuition.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kim. And thank you, everyone. I'll be sending you all this recording, and I will send you that. I'll send you her website so you can find all the great resources. If you all want to unmute yourself and give a little bow or a little clap to our dear Kim. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
Us to have that all.
Thank you, Marla.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.